If you enjoy this video, please subscribe, like, and comment. It helps me grow and reach more viewers. Thank you. And in the autumn of 2002, Kevin and Jenny, a couple from Anfield, bought what they thought was their ideal home in North Liverpool. After touring the charming 5-bedroom Victorian house and its garden with the estate agent, they instantly fell in love. Their 2 young children, Alfie and Kelly, were equally enchanted, and once the paperwork was finalized and the family settled in, the kids reveled in the garden's peaceful and almost dreamy atmosphere. Shortly after their move, an elderly neighbor walking his dog stopped to chat and made a comment that left them feeling unsettled. "Old man, it's a lovely place by day, but I don't know. It just seems to change character at night." Slightly irritated by the man's unsolicited remark about their beautiful new home, Jenny pressed him for clarification. The old man replied, "Oh, it's just my imagination, dear. Many places feel different at night." That evening, an October chill settled over the house. Just the perfect reason for the family to ignite a real fire. Kevin took pride in placing coal into the gate of the cast-iron fireplace in the living room. His children looked on eagerly. The family adored open fires. The children assisted Kevin in twisting bits of newspaper into tapers, which they nestled among the nuggets of coal. Before long, a roaring fire was ablaze. The family gathered around the warm, rosy flames that autumn night. Feeling content in their cozy spot, Kevin began entertaining the children with stories, claiming that the little blue flames that occasionally flickered were fairies dancing. Kelly, just 5 years old, cherished her dad's tales, while 7-year-old Alfie joyfully reminded him that Halloween was only a few weeks away. Kevin envisioned the spine-tingling ghost stories he could share on Duck Apple Night in front of the charming open fire. Kevin smiled as he gave Alfie's head a gentle pat. At around 8:30 that evening, Jenny led Kelly to the bathroom, overseeing her as she brushed her teeth in preparation for bed. While Kelly rinsed her mouth at the sink, both she and her mother were startled by excited shouts coming from downstairs. Alfie, "Dad, there's a face in the fire, come and look!" Kevin called down, "Hold on, Alfie." Although Kevin had just begun painting the spare room, being a devoted father, he reluctantly set it aside to follow Alfie downstairs. They both collided with Jenny and little Kelly on the landing. "Mum!" shouted Alfie. "There's a boy's face in the fire!" Jenny with a deep breath. "Okay, Alfie, we all heard you the first time." The entire family made their way downstairs and into the living room. Upon reaching the doorway, Jenny playfully remarked to her husband, "Kev, you really need to stop telling them stories." However, their amusement turned to disbelief as they entered the living room. They gazed at the fire. Clearly visible in the glowing embers was the image of a boy around 10 years old, and the boy appeared as though he was crying. Kevin shouted, "Jesus!" Kevin had always made it a priority not to curse in front of his children, but on this particular occasion, he couldn't restrain himself. Alfie was drawn toward the realistic apparition, seemingly entranced by the flickering figure. Jenny, in shock, exclaimed, "What on earth is happening?" The apparition of the child shimmered yet remained visible to all, and it began wringing its hands as if begging for something. A cry for help echoed faintly, followed by a sudden, high-pitched scream that pierced the air. In an instant, flames engulfed the scene, obliterating the image. At that precise moment, the plasma television in the corner, which had been muted, erupted with a thunderous blast of sound, as if a playful spirit had mischievously pressed the mute-off button on the remote control. Later that evening, Alfie and Kelly were permitted to sleep with their parents due to the distress caused by the sight of the boy in the fire. However, this was just a small taste of the turmoil that lay ahead. A few days later, during breakfast, Kelly unexpectedly revealed that a naughty old man had sat on her bed the previous night and had slapped her arm and leg. She mentioned that she had seen him emerge from the carpet, and then she began to cry. The old man had called her a little scut. The child clearly had never encountered this word before, and Kevin was also unfamiliar with its meaning. Upon doing some research, he learned that it was an old curse word from the Victorian era. A scut is the tail of a hare, but was also used derogatorily as an uncomplimentary, archaic four-letter word. Kelly was requested to illustrate the man from the carpet, portraying him as tall, thin and bald, with long, messy tufts of grey hair on either side of his head. He had cautioned her that if she revealed his origins to anyone, he would come for her in the dead of night and pull her back into the carpet with him. Kelly whimpered as she buried her face in her mother's neck, saying, "He said I would never see my mommy and daddy again. I don't want him to take me, Mum. Please don't let him get me." Kevin found himself puzzled by this story. He had come across the antique carpet in the attic, and it was Jenny who recommended getting it professionally cleaned because of its stunning pattern. This carpet had been placed in Kelly's bedroom, where she had been absolutely delighted with it. Alfie heightened the mystery by revealing that he had overheard a stranger speaking with Kelly in her room on the night of the alleged ghostly encounter. However, his parents were uncertain if it was merely a result of Kelly having a nightmare, with her brother embellishing the tale as children often do. Regardless, the carpet had to be removed from Kelly's room. Kevin then laid it down in their bedroom, a move that consumed their last bit of savings, as they were unwilling to discard a perfectly good carpet. Weeks passed without incident, but one morning around 5 a.m., Jenny awoke and turned over, annoyed by Kevin's snoring. Moonlight flooded the room, illuminating the old carpet on the bedroom floor. As she drowsily gazed at the pattern with half-closed eyes, she noticed lumps rising within it. Initially, she thought mice were scuttling beneath the surface due to the slight movement of the lumps. However, a face began to emerge from the carpet, and she froze in anticipation. In a swift motion, an ash-grey figure of a bald-headed man materialized on the carpet, sporting hair on the sides of his head and a long, hooked nose. In the moonlight, Jenny could see every detail of the ghost: his waistcoat, the chain of his fob watch, his long coat, narrow trousers and boots. At this point, Jenny's hand stealthily crept beneath the covers towards her husband's arm. She shook him and even pinched him as he snored loudly. Meanwhile, the ghost rose from the carpet, chillingly leaning over to gaze at Jenny with its head tilted. Jenny squeezed her eyes shut tightly as she felt the man's shallow breathing near her left ear. Suddenly, she heard footsteps softly traversing the room. All attempts at stealth were lost, and Jenny shook Kevin with such force that his head collided with the headboard. "Kevin, ouch, what are you doing, Jen? That wasn't funny." She told him what had just happened, but Kevin only turned his head into the pillow and mumbled, "It's been a dream," and then turned over, ready to go back to sleep. The next moment, loud screams could be heard coming from Alfie's room. Jenny flew from her bed and rushed to her son. Alfie was hidden under the blankets, wailing. Jenny called to Alfie. He shouted, "A man tried to strangle me." Alfie pointed at something Jenny could see out the corner of her right eye. A tall figure was half hidden on the other side of the wardrobe to her right. She was too scared to turn her head to face it. Jenny picked up Alfie as he screamed hysterically. She carried him out of the room to her own. She called her husband every name under the sun for ignoring their son's cries for help. On the following morning, Jenny had a strange impulse to hang the accursed carpet on the washing line in the garden, and she beat it repeatedly with a cricket bat. Dust came off it, and she and Kevin heard weird, faint screams, which seemed to come from inside the fabric of the carpet. Jenny couldn't take any more. There and then, she doused the carpet in firelighter fluid and burnt it in the back garden and threw away the ash. She didn't want a single trace left in her house of the accursed rug. Thankfully, since then, there have been no further paranormal incidents at the house. Spirits, particularly evil ones, are said to be able to hide and take refuge in certain objects and places, supposedly to hide from demons that call to collect them and take them to hell. I'm not sure if I can accept that explanation, though it is possible that the essence of a person's spirit may become attached to inanimate objects which meant a lot to that person after death. During the Edwardian era, a remarkable case was documented involving a dark, vaporous entity that frequently emerged from a gold locket reminiscent of the classic genie archetype. This locket, which held a meticulously spiraled lock of Titian red hair, was discovered by a broker in the attic of his home on Wagstaff Street in Toxteth Park in 1907. One day a maid entered the broker's chamber to tidy up after he had left for work. She observed a ghostly figure slowly taking shape as a steady stream of black vapour flowed from the locket, which was open on a bedside cabinet. Startled, the maid screamed and rushed out to summon the butler, who also witnessed the hazy humanoid form drifting around the room. The ethereal apparition was reported to the homeowner, who, days later, witnessed the striking materialization himself. He made the grave error of standing his ground and trying to communicate with the elusive spirit. It is said that when he asked the entity, "Who are you?" it responded by attempting to strangle him with a pair of black hands that seemed to take form in mid-air. Terrified, the broker and his servants fled the house. Once the ghost had vanished, the locket was either discarded or given away, and no further information has surfaced about this captivating haunting. The murderous smoky spectre had clearly found sanctuary within the locket containing the red hair of a long-lost lover. Or could the hair have been clipped from the head of a murderer after he had been hanged at the gallows? Such morbid talismans were once quite common,